So think about this for a second. What happens when your job, my job, pretty much every job can be done better, faster, and cheaper by AI? It's a future that's coming way quicker than we think, and it raises a huge question about capitalism itself. Today, we're diving into a really radical idea for how our entire economic system might just make it through. And I know, it sounds a bit like a movie plot, but this is something economists and tech leaders are wrestling with right now. I mean, if labor, the main way we all earn money to live, just sort of disappears, what do we do? How do we buy things? How do we pay our rent? How does the whole system not just grind to a halt? The source material we're digging into today makes this incredibly bold claim. It says that this one particular system, which we're going to unpack, isn't just a good idea. It's the only way capitalism survives once labor dies. I mean, that's not just a suggestion, that's a survival plan. Now, when people talk about this post-work future, the conversation usually splits into two big camps. One idea is all about giving people cash so they can buy the things they need. But the other path, the one we're focusing on, is about giving them direct access to the things themselves. Cash versus access. You've probably heard of that first path, Universal Basic Income, or UBI. The concept's pretty straightforward, right? The government gives every citizen a regular check, no questions asked. The basic idea is if people have money in their pockets, they'll keep spending, and the economy keeps chugging along. But this is where it gets really interesting. The second path is Universal Basic Services, or UBS. And with this, the goal isn't to give you money. The goal is to give you free, direct access to the absolute essentials: housing, food, healthcare. It's about increasing the supply of services you can actually use. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. UBI is a cash-based solution. It helps you pay for things. UBS is an access-based solution. It just provides the things. And that one little difference? Well, it changes absolutely everything. Okay, so let's get into the weeds. Why does our source argue so hard for services over just giving people cash? Well, it all boils down to 6 core arguments that make the case for UBS being the superior system for a world where AI is doing all the work. All right, argument number 1, and this is a big one: inflation. The core claim is that if you just give everyone a bunch of cash, prices are going to go through the roof. But a service-based model? The source says it would actually kill inflation dead in its tracks. So how does that work? Well, inflation is basically just too much money chasing too few goods. UBI pours more money into that chase. But UBS totally sidesteps the problem. The government uses its insane buying power to lock in massive long-term contracts for essentials at a fixed wholesale price. There are no bidding wars, no market speculation. It's more like how a military base gets supplied, not how we shop at a supermarket. The second point tackles a huge fear about an AI economy: the emergence of these giant winner-take-all monopolies. If one company controls everything, what stops them from charging whatever they want? And this is where the difference becomes so clear. With a UBI system, all that cash we're handing out would just get fire-hosed directly into the pockets of these monopolies at whatever retail price they set. But with UBS, the government acts as one single enormous customer. It forces those giants into wholesale contracts, which completely removes their power to price gouge the public. Okay, argument number 3 is all about the cost. And this might sound a little backward at first. How could providing services for everyone be cheaper than just handing out cash? Well, according to the source, the math isn't even close. This healthcare chart shows it perfectly. You as a consumer might pay $1,500 for something, but the government, buying that same service for millions of people at once, can get it for $300. Why? Because UCBS cuts out all the fat: the marketing, the middlemen, the retail profit margins. It is the massive difference between wholesale and retail prices. Next up, we've got a problem that plagues pretty much every cash-based government program you can think of: fraud. But the source claims a service-based system makes fraud nearly impossible just by how it's designed. The logic here is just so simple, it's brilliant. If there's no cash changing hands, there's nothing to steal. You're given access to a place to live, access to food, access to healthcare. You can't exactly sell your housing slot on a black market or trade your healthcare access for something else. The entire reason to commit fraud just evaporates. The fifth argument moves away from the pure economics of it and gets into sociology.
What actually happens to a society when every single person knows for a fact that their basic survival needs are met?
With UBI, you're still kind of at the mercy of the market. You get your check, but you still have that background anxiety. What if my rent goes up? What if food gets more expensive? With UBS, that specific fear is just gone. And the argument is, when people have that solid foundation, when they know they won't be homeless or starve, society as a whole becomes way more stable and less likely to fall into chaos. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most futuristic argument of all, that universal basic services is basically the perfect operating system for the kind of economy AI is going to create. Just think about it. An AI-powered economy is going to be incredible at logistics, at production, at managing huge, complex systems. Well, UBS is designed to plug right into that. You could have AI systems managing housing allocation, AI managing automated food delivery grids, you name it. It essentially creates a fully automated survival layer for all of humanity, run by the same tech that took our jobs to begin with.
So, if this system is so different, who would actually get behind it? You might think there'd be massive opposition from every side, but the source argues it would actually create this really surprising and powerful alliance.
And this table just spells it all out. The government likes it because it's cheaper and it keeps society stable. The corporations, they get massive, guaranteed, long-term government contracts. That's a dream come true. Investors get safe, predictable returns. And of course, the public gets its survival guaranteed. It actually aligns everyone's incentives in a really powerful way. Which brings us right to the end, to the final takeaway from all this. And this is where the argument really pivots from just a practical idea to a huge statement about the entire future of our economy. The source is absolutely adamant about this. This isn't socialism. The government isn't taking over factories. This whole thing is built on private companies, massive private contracts, and private investment. It's still capitalism, just running on a different engine. And that's really the final provocative thought. The argument is that universal basic services isn't an attack on capitalism at all. It's the necessary upgrade, the survival architecture the system needs to keep working in a world where human labor just isn't a core part of the equation anymore. A fascinating and frankly, a challenging idea for the future that's right around the corner.